Hello everyone, welcome back to another Star Wars Destiny video. Today I am showing you a deck that I'm currently testing featuring Quinlan Voss and Dr. Aphra. A lot of people have asked kind of like who's a good partner for Dr. Aphra. Dr. Aphra, her die isn't particularly great. She's not going to be doing a ton of damage. Her die only has two damage sides essentially, and one of them is a pay side. But she does have this interesting ability to, when she takes indirect damage or when you assign it to her, you get to draw a card. And you can get droids out for the first droid you play is decreased by one each round. So I decided to try to pair her up with Quinlan. So Quinlan has the special, which is deal damage to an opponent's character equal to the number of cards in your hand more than the number of cards in your opponent's. So if I have, let's say, 5 cards in my hand and my opponent has 2, his special will do 3 damage, for example. So we are running both of them at elite. 15 points for Quinlan and 14 points for Aphra. We have 1 point left over for a plot, but that only gives us access to espionage, which is each player basically just discards the top card of their deck, and I don't really want to do that. So Elite Quinlan, Elite Aphra, we're running the Emperor's Throne Room. Only die in the deck that really works with a special is going to be Quinlan. I guess we are running Dark Council. We could basically do that to draw a card, but we want to use the Throne Room on Quinlan's die. So again, Quinlan Voss, he is 15 points. He has 11 health. 2 melee plus 2 melee, discard resource special blank. And again, the special deals damage to a character equal to the difference between your hand and your opponent's hand. So you have to have more cards in your hand than your opponent, and it does that much damage. So again, if I have, let's say, 5 cards in hand, they have 2, it does 3 damage. Now let's go take a look at Aphra. She has 10 health. We're running her for 14 points. She has a 2 range for a resource, 2 indirect, discard, 2 shield, resource, and a blank. Again, first droid you play each round, the cost is reduced by 1. And after you deal indirect damage to yourself, you may draw a card. So that will be used to get cards into our hand to kind of maximize Quinlan's special. Let's go into our upgrades here. So we're running 2 ancient lightsabers, as is pretty much every other blue deck that's running melee. So he has 2 cost, 1 melee, plus 3 melee, shield, resource, blank. As an action, you can heal 2 damage from the character and place the upgrade on the bottom of your deck. We're running 1 Dark Council. This costs 1, has focus, resource, special, double blanks. Special is draw a card, re-roll this die instead of removing it from your pool. So claim the special, we draw a card and re-roll Dark Council. That special will help us get more cards into our hand, which will then help us with Quinlan's special. We're running 2 Force Illusion. So 1 cost, before the attached character takes damage, you may discard cards from the top of your deck equal to that damage. To block it, then discard this upgrade from play. So this is going to be in there to keep Quinlan alive for longer and hopefully long enough to win the game. So basically, you would play this on him, discard cards to block damage, and then hopefully just outlast our opponents by blocking damage with Force Illusion. We have 2 ID9 Secret Droids, so these cost 2. We're going to be using these with Aphra most likely. Maybe not on her, but you may put them. You put them on Quinlan. You can put them on Aphra. If it's the first one you play each round, these droids will only cost 1 instead of 2, and it's X on everything. So X melee, X focus, X disrupt, X discard, X shield, and a blank. And the X is equal to the number of ID9 secret droids in your pool. When resolving dice, resolve them one at a time. So let's say I had them both on melee. First one will be 2 melee. The second one will be 1 melee. So it goes down every time you resolve it. But again, we can play this on Aphra. We can play it on Quinlan. The most we're ever going to get out of it in this deck is 2. But again, it's 2 on quite a lot of things. So we can do damage, we can focus, we can get rid of resources, discard stuff, get shields. So we definitely want to have shields on Quinlan so he can survive, and so on. We're running 1 Maul's lightsaber, 3 resources, 2 melee, plus 2 melee, plus 3 melee, plus 4 melee, resource and blank. Blue character only. And then the power action, if an opponent has no shields on all of their characters, roll this die into your pool. So let's say beginning of a round, opponents have no resources. I can roll the saber in. Let's say maybe resolve it, bring it back to its card. Later in the turn, I can then activate Quinlan, and be able to roll that die back into the pool. And then again, it's 4 damage sides, pretty high damage sides, and a resource side, which is important so we can actually use it with bait and switch. And last upgrade, we are running 1 personal shield, 2 cost, 1 shield, 2 shields, 3 shields for a resource, double blanks, and before the attached character is dealt 2 or more range damage, you can exhaust this upgrade to give the character a shield. So definitely going to be attaching this probably to Quinlan. Hopefully he can get it on him, get some shields on him, and then be able to survive. Into our supports, we have 1 BT1, cost 2. With Aphra's ability, if it's the first droid I play, he'll only cost 1. He has 1 melee, 3 melee for a resource, indirect, 2 indirect, disrupt, and blank. And after you activate the support, deal 1 indirect damage to yourself, then deal 1 indirect to an opponent. So with this, we'll be dealing indirect damage to ourselves. We'll put that damage on Aphra. She'll be able to draw a card, which will then help Quinlan's special be more powerful. We're running 1 Dark Presence, 0 cost. After one of your dice rolls a discard, you may exhaust this support to force an opponent to choose and remove one of their dice. So we have discard on Aphra. So we're running 2 Aphra dice, so that's 2 dice that can potentially roll discard. Quinlan also has discard, as do the ID9 Seeker droids. So we have a few dice that can actually pull off discard. So Dark Presence, we'll be able to trigger that and have our opponents remove a die. For last support, we are running 1 Emperor's Favor. 1 cost, your hand size is increased by 1. So if you play this, we'll be able to have a maximum of, or be able to draw up to 6 cards. You could always have more cards in your hand, but your hand size between rounds, let's say, you normally draw up to 5. This will allow you to draw up to 6, which will then help with Quinlan's special. Into our events, we're running 1 altar, so 2 cost. Turn up to 2 dice to sides of your choice, yours or an opponent's. So you could do 1 of your dice, 1 of your opponent's die. You can do both on your opponent or both on yourself. So if you really need, let's say, like max damage, you can pay 2 resources and flip, let's say, Quinlan to, let's say you have Quinlan in an ancient lightsaber. Flip Quinlan to 2, flip the ancient lightsaber to +3, and you're sitting at 5 damage. It's also a good way to turn your opponent's dice as well. So if they have a special you don't want to deal with, or they have high damage, you can just blank those dice out. Next up, we're running Ancient Wisdom. We're running 2 of it, so 1 cost, draw 2 cards. So this is basically just pay 1, draw 2. You have those cards in your hand now, and that will also help with Quinlan's special ability. We have 2 bait and switch, so 0 cost, ambush. Turn 1 of your dice, showing a resource to any side. So quite a few dice in this deck are bait and switchable. So both of Quinlan's dice have a resource. Aphra's have resources. The ancient lightsaber can be hit with bait and switch. Dark Council can, and so can Maul's lightsaber and the shield. So most of the upgrades have a resource side. So let's say we blanked out on the lightsaber, or like we got a resource on the lightsaber, we can use bait and switch to turn this to one of its damage sides, for example. Or we can turn Quinlan from a resource to a special, and so on. So that was bait and switch. We're running 2 Boundless Ambition. 1 cost, draw up to your hand size. So if you use a few cards, spend your hand size is going to be going down. You spend a resource, draw up to your maximum hand size, and then that'll allow you to have a full hand so you can do more damage with Quinlan's special. We have 2 He Doesn't Like You, 0 cost. Remove 1 of your dice to remove an opponent's die. Just some basic removal there. We have 2 I Am Your Father, 2 cost. Resolve an opponent's character die as if it were your own, unless that opponent discards all the cards from their hand. So you're going to pay 2. You're going to potentially resolve one of their dice against them. If they don't want you to do that, they'll discard their hand. So either way, this is a bad situation for your opponent. They're either going to have to let you resolve one of their dice against them, or get rid of their hand, which will then in turn give you more damage with Quinlan's special. We have 1 Isolation, 1 cost, spot a blue character to remove a character die. We are running 2 Legacies, 0 cost, spot a blue character to resolve 1 of your dice showing a modifier as if it did not have a modifier. So this will allow us to resolve Quinlan's +2 as if it wasn't modified. It'll also allow us to resolve the +3 on Ancient Lightsaber, as well as +4 on Maul's lightsaber. So if you roll the +4, no other base damage, we can use legacies to resolve that 4 damage. So pretty good with modifiers, and there's a few modifiers in this deck. And again, Quinlan only has 2 melee sides, one of them being modified, so this will allow you to resolve that die as well. Again, now next up we have 2 lightsaber pull. So spot a blue character to search your deck for a blue weapon, reveal it, add it to your hand, and then shuffle your deck. This will allow you to get into your hand the Maul's lightsaber or the ancient lightsaber, or it'll also let you pull the ancient lightsaber from the bottom of your deck. So if I have the ancient lightsaber out, I use the action to put it on the bottom of my deck and heal 2 damage. Lightsaber pull will allow me to get that card back into my hand. And finally, we have 2 sound the alarm. Reroll any number of your opponent's dice showing damage, range, melee, or indirect, because now, as I've stated in a few other videos, anything in parentheses is just reminder text. So now that we have indirect damage, this card affects range, melee, and indirect. I've yet to actually play this. I've tested it on Tabletop Simulator against one of my Han and Finn decks, and it did fairly well. I think it went 1-1. We played 2 games, and the Han Finn deck won 1 game, and then the Quinlan Aphra deck won another game. So the trick really is just getting getting your hand to be as full as possible while making your opponent's hand as empty as possible. So when you do resolve Quinlan's special, you are doing the maximum amount of damage that you can. Because his special will deal damage based on the difference in hand sizes. So if you discard all of your opponent's cards, then let's say have Emperor's Favor in play, then you balance Ambition, you draw back up to your hand size, it could potentially do 6 damage, maybe even more if you have stuff like if you do balance Ambition and then do something like Ancient Wisdom. Let's say you balance Ambition, draw up to 6, Ancient Wisdom, draw 2 more, and do 8 damage. That's the dream with the deck. That is probably not actually going to happen specifically. It may happen, but more than likely you're going to be doing a little bit of damage with a special. So this deck is kind of built around getting more cards in your hand than your opponent's, and we have various ways to do that. With Aphra taking damage to draw cards, we then have again Balance Ambition, Ancient Wisdom, and I Am Your Father can mess with your opponent's hand. So if they don't want you to resolve their die against them, they'll discard their hand, which will then increase the damage from Quinlan's special. And Emperor's Throne Room, if we leave a Quinlan die in the pool and we claim, it'll allow us to get his special to go off whenever we claim as well. So we can, let's say, roll Quinlan on a special, do his special, and then we can also then claim the battlefield if there's one of his dice left and do his special again, potentially. Cunning would be an interesting card in the deck as well, because then we could also throw that on Aphra and trigger Quinlan special that way. I'm not sure what I would take out to make room for that, because I feel a lot of the stuff is, I think the personal shield is kind of necessary just to keep shields on characters, because Quinlan's going to be the prime target. So you also have to maybe put some upgrades on Aphra, so your opponents have to have a harder time deciding who to go after first. Maybe you throw a lightsaber on her, or some other upgrade to make them have to choose Aphra over Quinlan. But they're probably going to choose Quinlan first, so that's why you want to use your Force Illusions, personal shield, and anything you have over here to kind of keep him alive. So you want to be able to use, he doesn't like you to remove dice, stuff like Isolation, Sound the Alarm, just to have them re-roll all their damage and so on. That's going to do it for this deck video. Let me know what you thought of the deck. Remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Thanks again for watching.